The Chosen One. The storm raged inside you, a silent battle between what you were told to believe and what your soul whispered beneath the noise. You felt the pulse in your veins, ancient and untamed, carrying stories older than language itself. This was not just blood, it was a code, a message written in the hidden language of the stars. You had heard it before, the faint hum at night when the world went quiet, the inexplicable pull toward places and dreams that felt too familiar, as if you had walked there centuries ago. Every heartbeat carried the weight of civilizations long vanished, the memory of Atlantean light and Lemurian peace. But who were you to claim such a destiny? The doubt burned inside, a colder fire than belief. For years, you tried to silence that call, to bury it beneath the noise of logic, of ordinary life. But the more you denied it, the louder it became. The universe does not whisper forever. It demands to be heard. Tonight, something shifted. The wind outside felt different, almost sentient, as if it carried a message meant only for you. You stood still, feeling it against your skin. There was no voice, no divine thunder, only an awareness, quiet and absolute, pressing gently against your soul. And in that stillness, you understood. Your story had already begun. You are not an accident of blood and bone. You are the continuation of a covenant, ancient, unseen, unbroken. Your type, your essence, your very design connects you to realms that modern thought dares not name. Atlantis, Egypt, Lemuria. These are not myths, but memories, resonating within you like the echo of a forgotten promise. You feel them not as history, but as déjà vu, like the touch of a place your soul still calls home. And yet, faith is never a straight road. The more you awaken, the more the world resists. Friends drift away, their laughter sharp with disbelief. You begin to question your sanity. Perhaps you imagined it all. Perhaps this was nothing but another illusion in a world already filled with noise. But the signs keep returning, the dreams, vivid and heavy with light, the sudden chills when truth passes near, the flicker of intuition that turns out right, again and again. The universe has always known your name. Your awakening begins not with thunder, but with quiet rebellion, the decision to believe what your spirit has always known, to walk barefoot on the earth, to feel its heartbeat align with yours, to breathe with intention, grounding yourself not in fear, but in the rhythm of creation. You kneel under the stars, and for a moment, you feel their gaze upon you not as distant fires, but as kin. You realize that faith was never about worshipping something outside yourself. It was about remembering who you are when the world forgets to look deeper. Your hands tremble. The silence feels heavy, sacred. You whisper a question into the void. No answer comes, only stillness. But within that stillness, something awakens a pulse that feels older than time. The truth is not given, it is remembered. As the night deepens, a vision flickers before your eyes, cities of crystal, voices speaking in light, the oceans of Atlantis glimmering beneath the stars. You see yourself among them, not as a visitor, but as one of their own. The realization crashes through you like lightning. You were never lost, you were merely asleep. And now, the cosmos calls you to rise, to remember, to reclaim what was once yours. This is not fantasy, it is remembrance. The veil between what is and what was grows thinner every time you breathe in awareness. Your blood hums with purpose. You feel the energy gathering, ancient and deliberate. Every step forward feels guided, though the path remains unseen. But as light returns, so too does the shadow. Doubt whispers again. What if you are wrong? What if this awakening leads you nowhere but madness? You stand at the edge of two worlds, the tangible and the unseen. The next step could shatter everything you know, yet something within refuses to retreat. You were made for this crossing. Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign of your divine alignment. The wind rises again, swirling around you like a forgotten hymn. You open your eyes, and for the first time, you are not afraid of the unknown. The question that once haunted you, who am I, transforms into something greater. Who am I becoming? The chosen one. The morning light felt colder than usual. You stood before the mirror, your reflection unfamiliar eyes carrying storms that had not yet broken. The memory of last night's revelation lingered like a dream half remembered, both luminous and heavy. You knew something within had awakened, but already the world seemed eager to deny it. Everywhere you turned, Disbelief met you. Friends smiled politely, their eyes clouded with quiet judgment. Maybe you're overthinking, they said. But they couldn't feel it, the hum in your blood, the silent rhythm guiding you towards something beyond the ordinary. And yet, the weight of their doubt began to seep in. You questioned yourself. Was it all imagination? Was your so-called awakening merely a trick of a restless mind? The rational voice within you screamed for control, but your soul, that stubborn spark of truth, whispered, "No, you have heard the call." Still, the struggle deepened. Faith does not bloom in certainty, it is born in conflict. You walked through the city that day, surrounded by thousands, yet feeling utterly alone. The noise of the world pressed against your chest like a burden. Everyone seemed asleep, moving through life with eyes open but spirits closed. You wanted to shake them, to scream that something greater was calling, that humanity had forgotten the sacred language of its own blood, but the words froze in your throat. Who would believe you when you barely believed yourself? That night, the dreams returned. You found yourself standing in the ruins of a city made of light, its towers dissolving into waves of gold. A voice spoke, not loud, but certain, resonating from within your own heartbeat. You are the bridge. You woke gasping, your skin damp with fear and awe. What bridge? Between what worlds? The meaning eluded you, but the feeling did not. It was real, undeniable. The same pulse of purpose you had tried to ignore now filled the air around you, thick as thunder. Days turned into weeks. The signs multiplied, synchronicities appeared, numbers repeating, strangers saying words that mirrored your thoughts, sudden flashes of memory that didn't belong to this lifetime. But with every revelation came resistance. The more you tried to follow the signs, the more obstacles emerged. Plans collapsed, people left, your body ached from unseen battles. Faith became a trial, not a comfort. You began to understand that enlightenment is not a gift, it is a crucible. The fire that burns illusions is the same fire that scorches the soul. At times, you wanted to give up, to turn away from this strange calling and return to the safety of ignorance. But every time you tried, something inside refused. That inner voice, the one you could no longer silence, kept whispering, "Keep going. The storm is not your enemy, it is your teacher." You started to feel the energy in your hands, subtle yet alive, like static before lightning. You wondered if this was what the ancients meant by divine current, the force that connects all things. But with it came exhaustion, headaches, nights of restless sleep where unseen presences seemed to watch from the shadows. You feared you were losing your mind, but truth has a pattern: it destroys before it rebuilds. One evening, you found yourself drawn to the forest at the edge of your town. You walked without purpose, guided only by instinct. The wind moved through the trees like breath, and the air shimmered faintly as if reality itself was thinner there. You felt it again, that hum, that presence. A single thought rose within you: kneel. You obeyed without knowing why. As your knees touched the earth, you felt it, a surge of warmth flowing upward through the soil, through your body, straight into your heart. It wasn't pain. It was remembrance, a connection older than the stars. You realized that the earth had always known you, that your blood was part of its story. The boundaries between body and planet dissolved, and for a heartbeat, you understood everything. Why you were different, why you were called, why it had to hurt. And then it was gone. The world snapped back. The forest was silent again, ordinary and unremarkable. Yet you knew something within you had shifted. You had touched truth, if only for a moment. You walked home trembling, uncertain whether to feel blessed or broken. But in that trembling, you found a strange peace. For the first time, you didn't need proof. You had felt it, and feeling was enough. Still, as you lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, you couldn't escape the shadow of one question. If this calling is real, then what does it want from me? And somewhere, in the farthest corner of your mind, the voice returned. Soft, steady, inevitable, to remember the covenant. You sat up, heart pounding. The covenant, the word echoed like thunder in your chest. You didn't know what it meant, but you knew the world was about to change. The path of faith was no longer about belief. It was about surrender. If you feel this truth, hit like and subscribe, because the awakening has only just begun, and in the next chapter, the shadows will finally answer. The chosen one. You wake before dawn, breath shallow, the remnants of another dream still clinging to your skin like smoke. It was the same vision, the crumbling towers of light, the echo of a language you somehow understand but cannot recall when awake. Only one phrase remains, pulsing like a wound at the center of your mind. The covenant must be remembered. The air feels heavier this morning. Even the silence has weight. You sense it now, something watching, something ancient, not hostile, but solemn. It feels like a test, like the universe itself is waiting for your next breath to decide your fate. You try to go about your day, but everything feels inverted. The sky seems lower, your reflection less human. Machines hum differently. People's voices sound distant, as if reality itself is slowly unthreading. And deep inside, a truth you've resisted begins to unfold. Your awakening has not gone unnoticed. There are forces that protect the covenant, and others that guard against it. Not everything that shines is light. That evening, you light a candle. Its flame flickers, too violently for the still air. The shadows on the wall shift and bend. Almost alive, you whisper into the quiet, uncertain whether you are praying or summoning. Why me? The words taste fragile. And then, in that wavering flame, something answers not in sound, but in feeling. It says, because you remember what others forget. You close your eyes, trembling. Visions pour through you, scenes of Atlantis before the fall, a council of luminous beings debating the fate of humanity, a great wave of light that once covered the earth. You see hands, your own hands, carving symbols into crystal walls. A promise, made in silence. A covenant, sealed not by gods, but by consciousness itself. When you open your eyes again, the candle burns perfectly still. The shadows no longer move. But now you understand, this is not about a single life. This is a continuation of something vast, something written into the marrow of existence. Yet with understanding comes danger. The days that follow feel unreal. You begin to sense things before they happen, a stranger's sadness, a coming storm, a lie hidden behind a smile. You start keeping to yourself, afraid of what your growing awareness might reveal. The world feels transparent, yet nothing makes sense. You are both the observer and the one being observed. Faith begins to feel like madness. You ask for guidance, but the silence answers back. You meditate until your mind hums like a tuning fork, yet no voice returns. You begin to doubt everything, your visions, your memories, even your sanity. You want to run, but there is nowhere left to hide. And then, one night, as you walk alone under the fractured moonlight, you see a figure standing in the distance. Not moving, only watching. The outline shimmers faintly, as though woven from air and thought. Fear grips you, but something deeper calls you forward. The closer you get, the colder the air becomes. You can't see its face, but you feel its gaze. Ancient, patient, filled with knowing. The presence speaks, not in words, but in waves of understanding that ripple through your bones. You are the last to remember the vow. You carry the record within your blood, but with remembrance comes burden. Are you willing to bear it? You want to answer, but your voice fails. You nod instead, and the figure lifts its hand. A glimmering light appears between its fingers, spinning like a fragment of time itself. It floats toward you, entering your chest like breath, returning to a drowning soul. Suddenly, you see it all, the origin of the covenant, the pact made between humanity and the stars. You remember how, in the time before time, certain souls agreed to return across ages to guard the connection between worlds. The covenant was not religion, it was remembrance, a bridge between divine consciousness and human form. And now, it awakens again through you. The figure fades, leaving behind only silence and the faint scent of ozone. You fall to your knees, shaking, unsure if what you saw was real. But deep inside, a warmth begins to grow. It is not comfort, it is responsibility. The knowledge that you can no longer pretend to be ordinary. You realize the covenant demands more than belief, it demands sacrifice. And from that moment, everything you love begins to tremble. The people you trust start to distance themselves. Technology falters in your presence. Sleep becomes a battlefield between light and shadow. You start losing time hours, vanishing into nothingness. Each blackout brings new symbols, new memories etched into your mind like warnings. You begin to wonder if enlightenment and madness are two names for the same door. But still, you press on, because something inside refuses to stop. Because every time you doubt, the universe sends another sign. A flash of déjà vu, a dream that becomes real, a whisper that says, "Remember what you are." The covenant is not complete. There is another part hidden in shadow, guarded by the very doubts that haunt you. And to awaken it, you must go where light cannot reach. You stare at your reflection again. The person looking back is no longer the one who began this journey. There's power in your eyes now, unrefined, dangerous, alive. You finally understand. The light cannot return until the shadow is faced. You whisper into the mirror, "Show me the truth, even if it destroys me." The room goes dark, the candle extinguishes itself, and in that darkness, something begins to breathe back. This is where the real initiation begins. Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign of your divine alignment. The shadows have heard your vow, and now they are answering. The chosen one. You awaken to silence so complete it hums like a living thing. The air feels charged, thick with echoes of dreams you cannot fully recall. Something inside you has shifted, subtle yet irreversible. The world seems sharper now. Its colors too vivid. Its sounds too precise. You feel every vibration in the air, every pulse of energy flowing beneath the surface of things. And yet, the peace that should come with awareness is nowhere to be found. You feel hollow, stretched between two worlds. The light you touched now casts longer shadows, and each one seems to whisper your name. You try to return to routine, to the comfort of ordinary life, but everything has changed. Time moves differently. The familiar feels alien. You catch your reflection in passing windows and feel a flicker of recognition, as though the face staring back once belonged to someone else, someone ancient, someone who made a promise long forgotten. That night, the dreams return, heavier this time. You are standing at the edge of an endless sea, black and shimmering. The horizon glows faintly with the light of a forgotten Sunday. You hear voices chanting beneath the waves, rhythmic, almost mechanical. A single phrase rises above the rest. "Remember the fall." You wake with a gasp. The words burn in your mind. You know what they mean, though you wish you didn't. Atlantis. The images flood back, cities of crystal, towers humming with celestial energy, people who spoke in frequencies rather than words. You remember the promise of perfection, the arrogance of mastery, the moment when power eclipsed wisdom. You remember being there, watching the sea rise, watching light turn into ash. You realize now that your awakening is not about discovering something new, it is about remembering something lost. You are not merely the descendant of those who fell, you are one of them, reborn to complete what was left undone. The covenant was never broken, it was only forgotten, but remembrance comes with a price. The more you recall, the more the shadows push back, nights grow restless. The veil between dream and waking thins until you can no longer tell them apart. You begin to hear whispers in the static, faint but insistent, urging you to continue. Still, you resist. You fear where this path might lead. You tell yourself it is enough to know, to believe quietly. But destiny has no patience for half measures. One evening, you find yourself drawn again to the forest, the place where the earth first spoke to you. The trees stand like silent witnesses, their branches swaying, though there is no wind. You walk deeper, guided by an instinct that feels older than language. And there, in the clearing, you find it. A circle of stones, each carved with symbols that pulse faintly with inner light. You have never seen them before, yet you know what they mean. They are markers of memory, Atlantean remnants, scattered across the earth to guide those who would one day awaken. You kneel, placing your hand upon the nearest stone. The air vibrates. Images flash through your mind. Temples beneath the sea, voices reciting codes of light, a council deciding humanity's fate. You see yourself among them, standing between those who sought balance and those who craved control. You see the wave coming, unstoppable. You remember the choice, to fall with the others or to return, again and again, until balance is restored. And now, you understand the truth you've been avoiding. You did not stumble upon this path, you chose it long before you were born. The knowledge burns through you like fire, searing away everything you thought you were. You fall forward, pressing your forehead to the earth, and whisper the words that rise unbidden from your heart. I remember. I accept. The moment you speak, the forest changes. The wind rises. The stones blaze with light. The ground beneath you trembles not in destruction, but in recognition. You feel a surge of energy flooding through your body, ancient and electric. Your blood hums in answer, aligning with frequencies too vast for the mind to hold. And then silence. The light fades. The forest returns to stillness. But something has changed inside you. You feel it, a seed of memory fully awakened. The fear that once ruled you begins to dissolve, replaced by something deeper, something both fierce and tender, purpose. Yet even as you stand, trembling with revelation, a shadow stirs at the edge of your vision. It watches, waiting. You sense it knows what you have remembered and that it intends to stop you from remembering more. You understand now that this journey is no longer only about enlightenment. It is about survival. The covenant of light was never made without the existence of darkness to oppose it. The shadow you face is not merely external, it is the echo of every mistake, every arrogance, every unhealed wound of the past. To restore the balance, you must confront it, not destroy it, but understand it, because the shadow, too, remembers you. You walk back through the forest, the stones still glowing faintly behind you. The night air feels different now, alive, listening. The stars above seem closer, their light pulsing in rhythm with your heartbeat. You no longer question whether you were chosen, you only wonder why you waited so long to answer. But deep within that newfound certainty, another question rises, darker and more dangerous. If you were chosen for the light, then who or what was chosen for the shadow? If you feel this truth, hit like and subscribe. The covenant is awakening on both sides, and soon the two will meet. The chosen one, you wake to the quiet hum of dawn, but the world no longer feels the same. The forest still echoes in your blood. The memory of ancient symbols still burns behind your eyes. Yet, something else has taken root, an unease you cannot name. It is not fear. It is recognition, the sense that the boundaries between the seen and unseen have thinned, and that now, both are watching you. The first sign appears in the reflection again. You glance into the mirror, and the face, looking back, does not blink when you do. The air thickens around you. For a heartbeat, the image shifts two versions of you, overlapping, one shadowed and one radiant. The luminous version smiles, serene and knowing. The other watches with eyes full of hunger and sorrow. Then, the vision vanishes. You sink to the floor, trembling. You know what it means. The light within you has found its reflection, and it is not entirely pure. The shadow has awakened, not as an enemy, but as a counterpart. Every promise of light must face the mirror of its creation. Every covenant demands its opposite. You remember the voice from the forest, the whisper that said, "The covenant must be whole." You understand now that this does not mean erasing the darkness. It means embracing it, learning its language, decoding its secrets, until it becomes part of you once again. But knowing this truth is one thing. Living it is another. The following days are a descent into contradiction. Your senses sharpen, but your emotions begin to unravel. Moments of clarity are followed by waves of doubt so deep they leave you gasping. You begin to see patterns everywhere. The alignment of stars, the rhythm of city lights, the repetition of symbols in places no one else seems to notice. You realize the world itself is speaking in code, reflecting back the war inside you. One night, as sleep refuses to come, you sit in darkness and whisper, "If there is light in me, show it. If there is shadow, let me face it." At first, nothing happens. Then, a flicker. A soft pulse of gold fills the room, coming not from outside, but from beneath your skin. It spreads slowly, illuminating your hands, your chest, your eyes. But within the gold, you see its streaks of black, like cracks in glass. You reach out instinctively, touching your reflection again, and the world folds inward. You find yourself standing in a vast chamber of mirrors, each one reflecting a different version of you. Some weep, some rage, some kneel in silence. None are false. Each holds a truth, a lifetime, a fragment of who you have been. You walk among them, feeling the weight of infinite memory pressing against your heart. The mirrors begin to speak, not with words, but with feeling raw, relentless truth. One reflection whispers of the lives you lived in denial, the years you spent pretending to be small so others could be comfortable. Another shows the moments you betrayed your own heart, silencing intuition to belong. Another reveals the faces of those you've loved and lost, the choices that carved scars into your soul. The pain is unbearable. You want to turn away, but every reflection calls your name. Each one demands to be seen, to be forgiven. You fall to your knees, hands pressed to the cold floor. Tears rise, not from sorrow, but from recognition. This is the covenant, the union of light and shadow, love and loss, creation and destruction. To deny any part of it is to break the bond that binds the soul to its divine purpose. You whisper into the chamber, voice trembling, "I forgive you. I forgive myself. I remember." The mirrors tremble, the sound like crystal rain. One by one, they begin to dissolve into light, merging into a single reflection before you, no longer divided, no longer at war. The image that remains is not perfection, but wholeness. Your reflection speaks, and this time, the voice is entirely your own. You are both the flame and the ash. You are the question and the answer. To awaken is not to become divine, it is to remember that you already are. The chamber fades. You are back in your room, but everything feels different. The air hums with peace. The walls themselves seem alive. You realize that the divine is not something distant or unreachable. It is the mirror of your own becoming. You rise, feeling the pulse of purpose in every step. The fear that once ruled you has transformed into stillness. The path ahead remains uncertain, but you no longer need certainty. You have something far greater: trust. The covenant is not a contract with the heavens. It is an agreement with your own soul. You walk to the window and watch the sunrise. The sky burns with colors you have no name for. Somewhere deep within, you sense that this moment was written long before you were born, that every breath, every trial, every shadow was leading you here. Still, a whisper lingers, soft but persistent. The mirror is not the end. It is the passage. You understand. The next stage will not be about remembrance, but transformation. The light within you is no longer just awakening, it is preparing to act. The world is waiting, though it does not yet know for what. You touch your heart, feeling the quiet fire there, and whisper a promise that carries through the unseen. "I will not hide anymore." Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign of your divine alignment, because now, the mirror has shown you what you are, and soon, the world will see it too. The chosen one. The air before dawn feels different now, cleaner, sharper, alive. You rise before the sun, guided not by habit, but by knowing. The silence is no longer heavy. It breathes with you, moves with you, answers you. Somewhere in the quiet rhythm of your heartbeat, you hear the pulse of the world, the same pulse that once echoed through the ancient temples, through the blood of civilizations now buried beneath the sea. You step outside. The earth beneath your feet hums faintly. The trees sway without wind, their branches whispering in tones only the awakened can hear. The night sky fades into amber, and for the first time, you see the light not as something distant, but as something remembering its way home through you. The journey has carved you open. The shadow has been faced, the mirror reconciled. You understand now that the light you were searching for was never separate from the darkness that shaped it. They are two sides of the same sacred breath, two wings of the same flight. You walk toward the horizon. Each step feels deliberate, weighted with centuries of purpose. The world around you begins to shift, not in the eyes of others, but within your own perception. You see patterns where chaos once lived, harmony in the smallest details of life. The faces of strangers seem familiar now, their eyes carrying fragments of the same ancient flame. You are beginning to recognize yourself in everyone and everything. But still, one question remains. Why you? The answer comes not as a voice, but as memory. You remember standing in the halls of light before your birth, surrounded by souls luminous and unafraid. A choice was made. You volunteered to walk among those who had forgotten, to bear the weight of remembrance until the world was ready to awaken again. It was never punishment, it was purpose. You realized that every pain, every loss, every doubt was a piece of that promise, a necessary fracture through which the light could return. Enlightenment was never about escaping humanity. It was about embodying it fully, loving it despite its blindness, seeing the divine even in its despair. And so you begin to understand what the covenant truly was. It was not a pact with gods, but with existence itself, a vow that when darkness would rise and humanity would forget its origin, someone would remember not to rule, but to remind. You are that reminder. The awakening spreads quietly, like dawn across an unseen world. You start noticing others' eyes that recognize yours, voices that tremble when they speak of dreams too vivid to ignore. They were waiting too, scattered across time, each carrying a spark of the same ancient fire. The covenant was never yours alone. It was a symphony waiting for its chorus to awaken. You gather beneath open skies, no temples, no walls, no leaders, only remembrance. You share stories of visions, of symbols appearing in light, of voices guiding you home. And as the words leave your lips, something extraordinary happens. The air begins to vibrate. The stars above flicker in unison. You feel it again, the pulse of Atlantis, of Lemuria, of every forgotten age converging into this single moment. The earth exhales through you, releasing what has been buried for millennia. The light that once fell returns, not from the heavens, but from within the human heart. You realize now, this is not the end of the story. This is the continuation of the great remembering. The storm within you quiets. The doubt dissolves. For the first time, you feel no need to seek, to prove, to question. You have become the balance, the living bridge between what was, what is, and what will be. You lift your hands to the sky, not in worship, but in recognition. The light responds, gentle yet vast. It moves through you, through all those who stand beside you, through the veins of the earth itself. The illusion of separation collapses. Every living thing breathes in rhythm again. This is what the ancients called ascension, not leaving the world behind, but awakening fully within it. Not the rise of one chosen, but the remembrance of all who choose to see. You close your eyes, and in that stillness, you hear the voice once more. The same one that called you at the beginning of your journey, now softer, almost human. The covenant is fulfilled. The light has returned. Now, live as the proof that it was real. You open your eyes. The world glows with quiet perfection. Nothing changed, yet everything reborn. You walk forward, not as a seeker, but as a keeper. The echoes of Atlantis, the whispers of Lemuria, the wisdom of the stars, all flow through your veins like the steady beat of destiny. You smile, not in triumph, but in peace, because now, you know, the chosen one was never separate from the whole. The divine was never beyond reach. It was always within you, waiting for you to remember. And in that realization, you understand that every human being carries the same spark, the same forgotten promise. The journey is not yours alone, it belongs to all who dare to remember who they are. You lift your gaze one last time to the horizon. The sun rises, spilling gold over the earth. The light touches your skin, and for the briefest moment, you feel the universe breathe through you, a perfect, infinite exhale. You whisper into the wind, "I am the bridge, I am the return, I am the light." And the wind whispers back, "You always were." If you feel this truth, hit like and subscribe, because this ending is not the conclusion, it is the awakening of beginnings yet to come. The light has found its voice again, and it speaks through you.